Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have a guest on here today. You can see him on the screen. This is Sergeant Jay Walker, and we are here today to talk about his experience as a veteran and a disabled veteran at that, and just kind of learn a little bit about his story and kind of take it from there. Thanks for being here, Jay.
Oh, thanks for having me. Where should I start?
Well, let's start with your military experience. So, how old were you when you went in the military?
20, well, actually 19 because I turned 20 like right in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So right out of high school and first duty station was Germany. Well, we did basic training in Missouri for 13 weeks. So that was the time when like the drill sergeants were wearing like the hats that looks like Rangers.
Yeah.
And they can actually put their hands on you back then.
They
can't do that now. Yeah.
Is this the Army? Sorry, I.
Oh yeah. It was Army.
Okay,
I'm
you
sorry.
said drill sergeant, and then I was thinking, okay.
Yeah.
So you had your first duty station. You said was overseas in Germany, and then did you end up in a war zone of any kind after that?
I did, and so I was in Germany. Let's see, November of 1995. I went to Bosnia in 97. So all of 97, we had to go through Croatia to train for 2-3 weeks. Then we were in Bosnia for about 10 months. And then we had to debrief in Croatia. And then we was
And then you went back to Germany or stateside?
Yeah, I went back to Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
Wiesbaden?
What's that?
Wiesbaden. I was just asking if it was in Wiesbaden.
Oh, no, it was in, you said Wiesbaden?
Isn't that, yeah?
No, it's Wiesbaden, but.
Well,
close enough, right?
Well, it's just like Munich, just like Munich, people say Munchen, but it's actually pronounced Munich.
Yeah.
Well,
that's us Americans and how we pronounce stuff, right?
Yeah.
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 So what was your total experience time frame in the military then?
So 15 years. So I did 7 years active duty, and then I got out February 2001, a couple months before 9/11. And then I went back into the military in 2007, December.
And what possessed you to do that?
Be honest, I had no clue what I wanted to do in life. So it's one of those things that you get out the military and you're programmed to, do what you're told and don't ask questions. And even when like eating habits, when you're eating, they always tell you what, taste your food later. So we have to hurry up and eat.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
taste your food. I would not have made it in the military.
Yeah.
Neither one of us would, actually.
Yeah. So, but no, it was a good experience. I mean, it was one of those things like, I would say, when I first got out of the military in 2001, I went into like security for like 6 months. I was 2 years doing behavior, working with at-risk teenagers in Pennsylvania. So I was kind of like, here, there, trying to find out like, what is it I want to do in life? And then I just missed the military. I missed being around, like
the structure.
Yeah. So I went back. Yeah, I went back in.
Did you go back in the same rank or like the same area of expertise that you had before?
Same rank, but a different job. So going in the first time I was a combat engineer, and if you don't know much about combat engineers, think of infantrymen, but we dealt with explosives, demolition, landmines. Like, I don't even know why I even went into that department. My recruiter just showed me a video of guys, jumping and shooting and crawling, and I thought it was fun until I got in, and I'm like, what did I sign up for?
I'm just sitting here listening to that, and that's probably the case with a lot of young people who don't know what they want to do, and this is a good way for structure poor consistency, all those types of things, and probably very impressionable, so that you're listening to someone who is a role model, I guess. It might seem as that in that time before you have experienced anything, right?
Right.
And so I'm sure it's kind of like when people go to the doctor, they just kind of do whatever they say that they're telling them to do, whether it's really what you think you should be doing or not. So anyways, that was just prompting thoughts on that.
Okay,
So,
I have a question. Did you were you getting in trouble before you, like, out of high school, and that's kind of why you decided, because you didn't know what direction to go?
No, I was actually good, to be honest. Like,
You're playing
well,
football, I know, doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
right. I actually was playing football while I was in the army in Germany too. So wasn't really allowed. So I would say if there was anything bad, like we wasn't really allowed to play other sports. Because think about it, we're um, government property, so
Right.
you can actually get like charged with damaging military equipment by hurting yourself.
Oh, wow.
Like, so if you go out and you play sports or so, and it's not military related, and you hurt yourself, like they can charge you for damaging
wow.
military equipment.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
well, that's kind of a nice segue then into like your injuries, because well, it's like your military equipment, right?
Yeah, your
So let's
military
talk about
property.
that. How did the injuries transpire, and then what happened after with the in terms of the level of support and everything that you received?
So being active duty for like 7 years, and like I said, being a combat engineer, and then leaving there 2001, I didn't really start experiencing a lot of my injuries. One of the major injury I had was I was in a vehicle accident in
Okay.
Bosnia. I don't want to go into detail, but
Sure.
I ended up having a traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
So leaving there, and then my symptoms were migraines or forgetfulness and slurred speech, and I still deal with it till today. But it affected me even going back into the military, in the reserves in 2007. I went into a different department, so I went from combat engineer to dental assistant. To be honest,
That's a completely separate line of work. Yeah.
oh,
You're like,
completely different.
I'm not going to be around anything that blows up anymore.
So, but still, it affected me because, the migraines, because in the reserves, it's pretty much it's a weekend, a month, and then 2 or 3 weeks are the summer. I
Right.
believe that's it, unless they changed right now. I mean, this year. But even going to drill, like I would still suffer from the migraines. I would still suffer from sleep issues, because we had to pull guard duty. So all of those things I carried over to the reserves, So
Did you get any pushback?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Well, from after having the injury
mhm.
and then going back to the reserves, was there any pushback? I'm surprised that they took you in for the reserves with that in the past. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it wasn't a problem. It just, it wasn't like it's an everyday thing, or it was just once in a while. But yeah, so it really didn't affect me as much as now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every day or every week, because I guess like, of course, like as you age and
Sure.
things happen. So
Yeah.
I have a traumatic brain injury team. Back then it was just like, every now and then you talk to a doctor or you see a therapist or something like that. Now it's like, here I am, 49. I have a traumatic brain injury team. I have a neurologist. I have a therapist. It's
So the resources have been more than you had anticipated, or do you feel like they've evolved over time? Like you've been able to obtain more help or support, or did you have that support early on when the injury took place?
I didn't have that support early on, and that's what I was saying. I think at the time, like technology probably wasn't what it was, like what it is now. Back then, they probably still struggle like trying to find or locate, the symptoms of a traumatic brain injury. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying that it just wasn't available at that time. But then it's also up to us to want to seek that help,
Correct.
So we got to take accountability for that as well,
Well, was it more of I'm just trying to understand if they didn't have, I mean, there were so many people that were dealing with, traumatic brain injuries or PTSD, all these weird, and we're civilians seeing things
Right.
kind of from the outside looking in. It's hard to know if the soldiers are getting the kind of support they need, or if the support's there and they're just not seeking it. But
I think it's a little bit of both, to be
okay,
honest. Yeah. I mean, I can't really speak for, every veteran that
sure.
everyone has different type of disabilities or what they suffer. But I would say the resources are there. Whether we took advantage of it, I guess it's up to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, speaking in, in my experience, I did, but I also was one of those soldiers that we just dealt with it, So it's one of the things we learned. Well, I was in the Army. What I've learned in the Army is we just drive on with the pain or whatever it is. We'll figure it out and we'll push through. But see, back then, I looked at it as a sign of weakness. Or if I felt like I was not giving my all, even if I had, something broken or something, then I feel like I'm failing not just myself, my squad. But that was just programming in my head. It's not
Well,
one,
everyone's probably head.
so, but then pushing through pain and pushing through, you got to know your limits. Now I didn't listen to my body. So I was pushing through, even I should have been like, sitting down and resting and healing, but no. And so I think the more that I pushed through my pain, it, you know, it definitely, it definitely made a difference going forward later on, so.
In what way?
Well, I just think that there's more injuries that, later on, if you're not taking care of yourself, or if you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not taking care of your body, like your body would do the work for you. If you're not doing those necessary things to help your body shut down,
Yeah.
or like, okay, so we're not going to do this. Okay. And then next thing you know, there's more injuries or more impact to, different body parts or so.
Okay. How
I don't know if it makes any sense or.
Well, it does. I think a lot of, at least my impression has, and I'm not in the military, but it's always been like the military has this suck it up buttercup attitude, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're just like, you don't, like you said, sign of weakness. You see that, I think, a lot in just society, in general, that's one of the things that I've heard before. I've heard people say that to my kids, like suck it up, man up, I think was another way to say it. Which
walk it off, shake it off.
Yeah. Which I think that adds value sometimes. I think that's appropriate sometimes. People need that. But when you're talking about this kind of stuff and not really knowing how to navigate through what's happening in your own body, that's not the right answer. But I think that just seems like that's what a lot of people with military experience have said. I don't know that it's changed at all, or if it's still the same, but it sounds to me like the resources that you've had to go out and solicit yourself to get this team together and, be able to identify what's going on with you and medicate. If, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that a lot of people they've been thrown medication here, fix this problem kind of a thing. And a lot of that was PTSD, from some of the things they've been through. How do you feel that your injury or your transition back into civilian life has impacted, or has it impacted your relationships with personal relationships, work relationships, things like that? How has your adjustment been?
It's been difficult. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's been definitely, it's one of those things that I look back on and I try to, figure out, could I have done something different? But, it affected a lot of my personal relationships. I'm not going to say like the person name, but it just kind of sticks out. Even when I was, going to receive help and talk to a therapist, I've known this person for like 7 or 9 years as friends, and we tried dating. And I was talking to a therapist, and it was like 2 hours, like outside, and she asked me, you know, who were you talking to? And I told her, and I said, oh, she was like, okay, like, what were y'all talking about? And told her I was struggling. So when she found out I had, PTSD, the first thing she said was, oh my gosh, are you going to shoot up a movie theater? And I
Yeah.
thought, like, no, it's just one of those things
Wow.
that I just think that people, there's
They don't have
different,
an understanding about it at
right.
Misunderstood.
all.
There's
Yeah.
different levels of PTSD, and you don't have to be in the military to have PTSD,
Right.
So, and I think there is more associated with military, and
Mm-hmm.
so they think that, oh, you're going to go crazy because you have this, and I'm like, no, as long as you're doing the work and you're taking care of yourself and you're doing it for yourself, your family, your friends, like I said, there's different levels of PTSD. I, I haven't served in, like I haven't been to Iraq, or so, but I was still in Bosnia, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So, some soldiers have done 2 or 3 tours in Iraq, and I would say that those are the soldiers that actually need
Right.
that guidance, to like make sure that when they get back from as the tour, make sure that they are getting that assistance. And like I said, I'm not them. I don't know if they receive the assistance like they should, but
That's what I was going to ask, is if they have those things available ongoing and readily available for
right,
people. Yeah. But just listening to what you were just saying, it just makes me think of life in general. And I think a very important thing that you just said was continuing to do the work yourself.
Right.
yes,
And you can liken that to addiction. You can liken that to relationships. You can liken that to mental, emotional, so many different things that are in life. And even, this, which is something that people don't typically think about, you know, is continuing to do the work. And I think, I don't know, as this, again, just an outsider's perspective, in thinking about that, I think, unfortunately, the media tends to make it seem like, just like that PTSD example that you were saying, that it's always a lot of times associated with that, which is why people think that disabled vets are always just like got their hands out, like they need to be given everything deserving. I'm not saying,
Mm-hmm.
but just that a lot of times media's perspective on things is very one-sided, that we see instead of positive things that are going on to assist in the ongoing recovery of our, veterans out there. So,
hmm
There's a lot that I think that's taken for granted. I mean,
mhm.
we're talking about human beings that are going into like these tours that you're talking about. You had one. There's guys that I think it's a different kind of personality that goes and wants to go back to that 2 or 3 times.
hmm
That it's just maybe a type of personality, that is wants that adrenaline rush or is in there, and they're very military, like they're going to be lifers for military. That's just their role.
hmm
Um, how do you, just your personal perception on everything now, having been out for a while and seeing, what's going on in our world and what kind of support in general we have for our veterans? Do you feel like there's enough out there, or that it's readily available
I
to
don't think
veterans?
to be honest, it's never enough. I mean, to be like I said, we're human beings, and the things that what I experienced and know other people have experienced from the start, is I just feel like it's kind of like okay, come on here, let me patch you up and then send you on your way, and then
Right.
collecting dollars. So I still struggle now. Like I struggle with speech, I struggle with memory loss. Um, there I have slurred speech sometime on vision problems. It's like the list goes on and on. If I was to sit there and list all the symptoms and everything, people would think I'd be a walking time bomb. I'm like, no, that's not
Well,
it.
but just how do you deal with it? Is it just stuff that you just have learned to adjust to?
Yes, and that's what I
Except the
said.
headaches. I know the headaches have become really severe.
Right.
But
Oh,
is that more
definitely.
like when you're really stressed out that it becomes worse, or is it just all the time?
Not even. So I'm learning this new thing now, like in the past couple of years, that because of the allergies now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm getting, they're more sinus related. Well, if you have a traumatic brain injury, well, that's affected as well. So therefore, there's times I'm, taking the allergy medication, and next, I had to take migraine medication, and next, I got to take this type of medication for that symptom. So it's
Oh.
like sometimes it's like, okay, today, what are we going to deal with today?
Mm-hmm.
But I still got to have like, why am I doing what, when I wake up in the morning, I kind of change my perspective. And different things I would say that's happened to me in the past that I now know, like, this version of me is the best version because I can take that pain and disappointment and suffering and try to channel it to something positive. So with me coaching football and personal training and also trying to like be an advocate for those others that doesn't have a voice, that's my drive and that's my motivation. So even when I'm suffering or I'm going through like a moment or a weak point, that's my motivation to basically
You're
what's the
continuing to
yes.
suck it up. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
He absolutely
But
is.
because but in a very different way.
Right.
In a healing
Yes.
sort of way, which is helping to heal all of those symptoms that you are suffering with. So that's interesting. Interesting perspective and very positive one. I'm sure there's plenty of people who find that, well, I'm sure it's challenging for you to do that. And it's a decision that you, I'm assuming, make every single day, so that is challenging for people to just like working out and everything else. We got to do it most when we don't want to is when it's going to help us. So very admirable.
Thank you. It's just,
Yeah.
well, I will say I've been in I mean, even when I was, in the reserves, like I was homeless. People wouldn't think like you're in a reserve, how are you homeless? Well, it happens. So there's different things. I've been in dark places here and there. So without my family and my friends, like to be honest, I wouldn't even know like how would I even get past through, a lot of obstacles, but it was definitely some struggles. Like,
And that's the crazy part. Just you've gone through homelessness. No veteran, nobody
Thank you.
deserves to go through homelessness. But the veterans of the USA who commit and give up so much of their life to fight for the freedom. I know this sounds so cliche, but it's we're talking to one right now. Yeah, and give up all those things and go through lifelong repercussions as a result so that I can get up freely every day and go get my coffee and do nothing if I want, right? None of y'all should be homeless ever for the sacrifices that are made there. So that's just that's where it's crazy. Like,
and you see our homeless population, because you've been in Washington. He was based here for a while back in the day, a long time ago, but our homeless population is ridiculous. And the vast majority of the people we see, like when you see signs, it says disabled vet, or, oh, there's a lot of people out there that are just really struggling, and maybe they don't know where to get the resources, or maybe the resources aren't available. But the impression I have is once the military is kind of done with them, they just kind of are done. And then they're just stuck. They just have to deal with it on their own. There's not a lot of resources available. And maybe there are resources, but I kind of wonder, how available they are. So
is there anything you can share with us for anybody listening that maybe is in the military or has gone through the struggles, or I don't know, just a little something that might help somebody similar? Just a little antidote, if you will. I don't know if you do. And we're not live. So if I'm putting you on the
Right.
spot and you want time to think, this can be cut out and we don't have to ask the question. But if you got something, we would love to hear it.
Well, one, do the work. I would definitely give the advice to veterans, civilians. Like, if you're struggling with something, please do the work in yourself. Like, take care of your mental. That is so important. It starts there. You'd be
And that doesn't
surprised.
make you soft.
No,
No,
God,
at
no, it makes
all.
you
It
strong.
doesn't.
I think that
know.
makes you
I
Exactly.
know.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You hear about someone like talking to a therapist. Oh my gosh, you must be crazy,
Mm-hmm.
or medicating or so. Like, everybody's different. So, but you definitely have to do the work. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your friends. Just, you have to do the work, because like we all these, are struggling with something in our life, or
Right.
been through a traumatic event in our life. So definitely do the work in yourself.
It's worth it.
Definitely, yeah.
It's definitely
Definitely.
worth it. And I'm hoping the headaches get better, because I know that's, well, do you feel like that, like spending your time and energy with things like the things you love, like coaching football, for example, because like
Mhm.
you love that, obviously, and you're very good at it, and you've got a whole following of kids and stuff from the high school. Does that kind of divert your attention in a way to where maybe it's helping with the headaches?
It does, but I do have a story. Like, so last week, we're getting ready for spring training, and so I'm a running backs coach at a local high school here, and I was doing my running back drills, and one of the kids was hiking the ball too low, and when I reached to get
Oh,
the ball, I turned around, kid elbowed me right in the head. So I don't know if you can see that knot.
That's
It's
so
like
funny.
still right here, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I really need another setback? Like, for
no.
real? So, but even just doing something you love to do, I mean, things gonna happen. But no, it's I'm inspired. I go there, I look at them, and I talk with other coaches. It's something I love to do. I played football for 26 years. I coached for 14 years. So I just have the love for the game. So it's just one of those things that I put all my troubles and my stress, and I just leave it in the parking lot, and then
Yeah.
I go into this different mindset, like. I know it sounds like, oh man, this guy is like, no, trust me. Like, there's times that I didn't want to do anything. I stayed in the house for like 3, 4 weeks. So I went through that process. So it's just,
Dark
again,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just starts mentally. Like, yeah.
So,
So,
so thinking about like advice, like Michelle had said, like for
hmm
other vets, you had said just
right.
doing the work. Is there anything else that you think we could share, especially with, say, for example, the spouses of those individuals or their significant others that might be helpful in supporting them?
I would say that it would. Well, at the time when I was going through it, it would have been nice if my significant other actually learned exactly what I was going through. And
Right.
so educating themselves, and being there for them, because that's important too, being there for your loved one when you're struggling. And so when the spouse or your dependence is not there, I mean, you can only imagine like what they're thinking. They're
Mm-hmm.
thinking that they're doing this on their own, or they don't have like the drive to do it because they don't have the support. So if you're a spouse or dependent, like, definitely support like what that person is doing, because not everyone can do it.
Do you feel like
So
did you share what was going on with you so your significant other could understand what was happening? Or do you
um
feel like they just didn't have a grasp?
yeah, I think that's what it was. And I'm not gonna throw any shade. She's
No,
probably
I don't
just
mean that. I
didn't
just
know. Yeah, she probably just didn't know, and that was the first thing that she was thinking. So a lot of it that, sometimes, when you talk about showing support, well, then you have to ask yourself, well, how can I? show
What does that look
support.
like?
Yeah, so if you never experienced it, then how would you know to look for it?
Are we back to communication? So much damn communication
I
out
swear to
there that
God.
has to do with every relationship and situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just being open to the fact that,
Yeah.
there's shit going on with people.
Yeah, and it's not always going to be, comfortable.
Mhm.
There's got to be sacrifice on, I'm sure sacrifice. I'm sure you've dealt with family members sacrificing and time, resources, just different things to be able to help you in your own situation, as they should. That's what families do.
Yeah.
And significant others, spouses, all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. So, yeah.
So did you have any closing thoughts?
So I am going to be starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the near future. Thanks to you two, because I listen to your episodes and I'm like, oh, I'm motivated. Like, this is nice. Like, I could do this. So, I'm thinking about like, what type of audience or so. And then, I don't know, like, okay. So the question would be like, what made y'all start a podcast?
What would be what?
No, the question, like, to you, what made y'all start? No, what made you start?
Oh, what made us start?
Yeah.
The pandemic?
It was actually pre-pandemic.
Really?
Yeah.
It was before the pandemic. Julie
Right.
is Julie. She hatched this idea in her head, and presented it to me. And then we just kind of willy-nilly were talking about, this was in like 2019.
We didn't start it till 2023.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
This is our
22.
third season, yeah.
22.
Okay.
We started it, yeah. So there were, the pandemic things and flood things and just different situations that, but just like Julie is a dog with a bone, she just didn't let it go. And we were starting a podcast. I'm like, okay, let's go.
She's like, I'm coming along for the ride. I need a blonde with me.
Oh, wow.
She came up with the name, actually.
Really?
Half the thing is the name and your cover art. And then, anyway, we'll talk about this because I told you I'd help you.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
Let's do this,
it.
though. You're thinking of starting a podcast.
Yes.
Let's ask our listeners, those that have listened to the episode today, if you have any input or thought on what you think Mr. Walker should either subject matter do a podcast on, all different kinds of things. Sounds like he's a coach, he's a mentor, he lifts weights, he's gone through all this military stuff. There's like a whole bunch of things that he could talk about. So it could be the subject specific, or it could be a wide variety of things. So if you have any thoughts on that, listeners, please let us know.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
As you know, everybody, we are out on all the socials. So if you haven't checked it out already, please do go to YouTube and subscribe and follow, as well as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're out there. Like, share, follow, all the things. Download all the podcast platforms.
She's our social gal.
Us there. So we appreciate all the support so far, and just can't wait to see how the community continues. So on that note,
thanks again, Jay. And I guess we will be chatting with everybody next week.
Wait, where is it?
Okay. We have this one little segment at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So I'm ringing the bell. All right.
Oh yeah.
So we asked a question.
That's right.
So Are you ready for this question?
Okay.
FWB. Do we know what that means?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Friends with bacon?
Well, maybe. I don't know. But friends with benefits. How do we feel about that? Is that an okay thing, or what do we think?
We're gonna let you answer first.
I don't know. I think I'm like digging myself like in a hole right here if I answer that question.
Why?
Because like I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we could.
Michelle.
It was just one we did recently, and we couldn't use it, and it was top of mind, so that's why it was just fresh. So
what do you think about the whole concept of friends with benefits? Do you think it's a legitimate thing? Do you feel comfortable with it? How would you do it?
I don't believe in it, to be honest. So, but again, it's one of those things that when you open up another segment on that and people views, I was always against it. I mean, I can't say I didn't experience it. I
Could
think
be
they,
convenient.
yeah,
I,
well,
I I had a friend. I knew this gal once. This was years ago too. And I never even knew there was such a thing
hmm
as like friends with benefits, right? But we would commute to work every once in a while, and we're driving along. She's telling me how, because she lives in a duplex, there's this guy that lives on the other side, and she's on the other side, and every once in a while that she would just be, "Hey, you
Get a little
wanna?"
itch.
Yeah. And yeah, sure, I'll be right over. And I'm like, what? I mean, the
I mean,
first
it's
time,
kind of a perfect scenario.
I mean, that is a perfect scenario. But
well,
I just was like, wow, you just like go do that. But see, I was married at the time, so not really a concept that I was familiar with. And I got married young, so it wasn't really everything I ever did.
I didn't even know what it was either
yeah.
Well,
until after.
the first time I saw the acronym FWB,
You thought it was?
I thought it was fat white bitch. I was like, yep, that's me.
Oh my
Michelle.
gosh.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, but I had to ask one of my sons. He
So
schooled me.
see, everybody have a different definition. So now that I can understand, if we're on the same page, because a lot of times when people think of FWB, friends with benefits, they think of, well, they just come over, scratch your
Yeah.
itch, and then that's it.
hmm
I don't look at it like that. I look at it that, it's all about a title. I feel like you can do the same thing with that friend as if you was in a relationship without the title. Wouldn't it still be a friends with benefits?
If you're not in a relationship,
If you're
still
not
hook
in a
up.
relationship, but
Yeah.
you did relationship things together, still a
Right.
friend, and that's the
Right.
benefit of it. You just taking out the
Emotion.
actual, yeah,
Or the feelings part.
or the title, relationship, boyfriend,
Right.
girlfriend, or
Yeah.
but you can still do the same things. I don't.
Right.
That's why I say like it's kind of like a gray area because. Like if I look at it like that and take away the title and still have that, as long as we're both on the same
Right.
page,
Who needs that title? Mr.
right?
Walker, you just come up with your own scenario on whatever that is.
There you
And
go.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I have no idea where you guys are going with it.
I got you.
He's dancing around the question.
No,
And-
how?
No, I don't think so. I totally get what you're saying.
Right.
I totally get what you're
take
saying.
away like
Yeah.
your boyfriend, girlfriend, right?
Right.
But okay, so because with your significant other, that's your friend, right? That's your best
Right.
friend. So if you're doing everything that you do with that friend as if you was in a relationship, that's still
Well,
friends with
the
benefits.
whole idea
I
with
mean,
friends
that's-
with benefits is that you can do that with multiple people, or you have the ability to, because you don't have a commitment or you're not like locked down. That's
Right.
what friends with benefits is, right?
Yeah, but you're
Sure.
taking away the emotional part, like you're saying.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
You're not catching feelings for them. You're
All right.
Right.
It's pretty much just so I can have sex with somebody that I really adore anytime I want and not have any expectations.
There
right?
you go.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. There we go. On
it's
that note, people, we're not going to go any deeper. We are going to say thanks for listening. Mr. Walker, thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Listeners, if you have any suggestions on what his podcast could be, please let us know. And until next time,
And if you want to be his friends with benefits,
slide into the DMs. Blonde, brunette, and a mic.
at gmail.com.
Okay, everybody.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
You